What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. We'll break down what's happening with the economic calendar for tomorrow, as we still have some big data coming out despite the fact that the market's going to be closed. I want to talk about some headlines involving Tesla, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon in just 3 days. Anyways, for Tesla, there's a bit of a downtrend right here. Tesla showing some weakness as we got this rejection from this high yesterday. And Tesla closed at about 175 a share. There's a risk of this coming down to about 174. So I am seeing some weakness on the charts. But please know that what's going to affect Tesla are two main catalysts. There's some data coming out for tomorrow that could affect us going into next week, not to mention deliveries. So I'm going to break down some details about this before I break down the charts. As a reminder, tomorrow is Friday, March 29th. The stock market is going to be closed for Good Friday. There's not going to be trading that's going on. Please remember that. But just know that even though the stock market is not going to be, trading, we are going to have some important data still coming out alongside Jerome Powell's speech. So what's happening tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? We have the PCE data report, which is basically just another inflationary measure that's very important and looked at by the Fed. On top of that, later on, we also have Jerome Powell's speech. Firstly, for the PCE data, this is going to be very similar to CPI. We're going to be looking at trends like this. So when looking at CPI, you will notice that for all items, CPI actually went up a little bit the last time it came out. And then for all items without food and energy, CPI did come down a bit. That's basically core CPI was decent, but all items CPI was not the best. What does this mean for the future? Here's the very simple answer for tomorrow, okay, there's a very, very good chance that PCE year over year might be very close to expectations, maybe a little bit hot, because that's what happened with CPI. We're expecting this to be between 2.5 and 2.4%. The last time it came out, it was 2.4%. So it may be somewhere within that range or just a little bit hot. So just be a little bit careful with that. For core PCE, we want this to be between 2.8 and 2.7%. It's going to most likely be aligned with expectations, if not below them, in my honest opinion. So the data is going to be a little mixed, most likely. That's the most probable outcome. If everything's aligned with the expectations, the market may like that. The market also pumped a bit approaching the status, so we'll see what happens there. And then on top of all of this, another big factor is not just PCE. Even if PCE, excuse me, even if PCE is kind of like mixed, so-so. What else could affect us is Jerome Powell giving his speech at 11:30 a.m. So this could be another big difference maker for the Bulls or the Bears. What is Jerome Powell likely going to do? Well, honestly, guys, the last time this guy spoke, the market pumped very nicely because he was being very dovish, and I don't see why he'd have to be all of a sudden so hawkish. So it doesn't make that much sense. He might react to PCE, so that could be a very, very big factor into what he ends up saying during his speech. So we'll see what Jerome Powell says tomorrow. I'll be giving you guys a report on that as well. And that's pretty much it for data. We just have PCE, very important inflationary numbers, which is some pretty big data, not to mention Jerome Powell giving a speech. That is all going to be huge for tomorrow. Once again, all the data comes out, well, the stock market is going to be closed. When is the market going to react? Well, the market could still get a big reaction on Monday, which is going to be April 1st, the start of Q2. The first quarter just ended and the market actually held up very nicely. Now the question is what's going to happen starting next quarter. So for the next quarter, for April 1st, we're about to start in just a couple of days. The market, if Jerome Powell pumps us, the market could still pump very, very nicely, gap up on Monday. If Jerome Powell causes the rug pull, we could gap down, so we'll just have to see. It all depends on what Powell says and also the data. Besides that, there's not much else from the data. We're still kind of greedy on the fear and greed index. Not much is changing right here as things are still kind of the same. Market volatility is neutral as the VIX is kind of stuck within this tight range. That's all I'm seeing for now. As far as Tesla goes, we also have more news coming out from Wedbush. Dan Ives has come out. He's given his estimates for Tesla. He's saying that Tesla should report deliveries between 425,000 and 475,000 units for the first quarter, which is a very, very big range. I find that kind of funny. I would say like his estimates are closer to like 450,000, give or take a little difference by 25,000 vehicles, but somewhere around there. So that's what his estimate is. We'll see if that ends up being correct. He's been saying that Q1 has been a nightmare for Tesla. He also lowered his price target to $300 from 320. That was making a lot of headlines. Besides that, there's been a lot of talk on the news about how many Chinese companies are now competing with Tesla, announcing cheaper EVs. But you have to remember, and I think someone in the comments brought up a very good point about how many of these EVs are not even being sold for much profits right now. It's going to take them a while to get there. On top of that, Tesla is now being incentivized to help increase their competition. So we'll see what Tesla does. Do they cut prices more? Do they do anything like that? Right now in China, demand is still slowing down. We're seeing some negative effects from macroeconomic factors. So it's still going to affect Tesla, and we'll see the extent of that when they announce their deliveries. So I'll be waiting for that very, very carefully. For their overall volume, we had about 77 million, a little bit below average. So Tesla's volume is not quite there. But today was a low volume day since it was the last day of trading after a short week. Not to mention the fact that the market will be closed tomorrow, and we have a big holiday ahead of us. Citigroup is remaining neutral on Tesla. RBC Capital is saying that Tesla will outperform the market. Morgan Stanley gave Tesla a overweight rating, so we're seeing some decent ratings as well. The price price ratio is kind of low because Tesla's still not showing that much strength. In terms of seasonality, we're only green about, well, we tend to be green more often than red on Mondays, but that's going to be one big factor. And then another big factor is going to be their deliveries. So all this data comes out for Friday. Tesla could get a big reaction on Monday alongside the whole market. And then for Tuesday, Tesla has its deliveries numbers coming out that could also affect us. So how's the chart look, guys? Honestly, guys, it depends on what data comes out tomorrow and what the news says. But Tesla's looking a bit more bearish from a technical standpoint. We've been downtrending for the last 3.5 days. We could try to rebound a bit and then eventually come down to fill this gap. So I do think Tesla may dip a little bit more. Then we might see some sideways price action, regardless of what the market does. And then we're going to be looking for a big move depending on deliveries. That's what I find to be very, very probable. But this also depends on what Jerome Powell says. It depends on PCE data, so we'll just be waiting for that. And the move is coming on Monday. The market is closed for tomorrow, by the way, for Good Friday. Do not forget that. For SPY, we have a nice accumulation. We're forming kind of like a cup and handle like structure. So if we're bullish after Jerome Powell's speech and we see a bullish move for Monday, we could be pushing all the way up to 525 to 526. If we're bearish, it's going to come all the way down to about 521. Otherwise, we're kind of stuck right here. So we'll just have to see what happens within this range. SPY right now is in a very, very critical place. I'll be very, very patient with this. We'll see what happens with the data, but the chart still remains bullish. So we'll see if we continue to get a push. We do have potential to do so. For Nvidia, Nvidia's range bound right here. Watch resistance at 908. Watch support at 892. We're just stuck going back and forth and back and forth. We'll see which way it goes depending on what Jerome Powell says and also with PCE data and also the news that comes out over the weekend. If we're bullish, we're going to be pushing all the way up to previous support becoming resistance at 925. If we're bearish, you want to see it come all the way down to 892 and start sinking to 885 or below that. So just be very, very careful. For the QQQ, we're kind of stuck range bound between 444 and 445.5, going back and forth all day. If we try to push even higher, look for 446 plus. If we push lower, we're going to be sinking all the way down to 442. We'll just have to wait and see how things go. But for now, the QQQ is still range bound. It's just waiting for a big reaction, so we have to be a little bit patient on this one. Aapl is on a bit of a decline. It's making lower highs and lower lows, been downtrending for 1.5 days. So if we're bullish on Apple, we want to see this thing actually try to break this resistance, get back above 172.5. If Powell pumps us, if we get a rug pull, we're going to be coming all the way down to 170. Honestly, guys, we look a little bit more bearish on Apple, so there's a risk of this coming down lower. For a few more, super micro, we'll be watching 1020 as resistance. If we break this, 1050 is coming. If we lose support, we're going to be coming all the way down to this like 980 area. So we're looking kind of weak in that regards since we haven't broken our key EMAs. So we're favoring a move to the downside, but it's not a guarantee until we see confirmation. But just know that Amazon is just completely flat, looking a little bit weak after getting this rejection. Watch support at 179.6. If we lose that, we could be coming back down lower towards 178. Otherwise, we are still kind of range bound. So the chart looks a bit more bearish, but just to be safe, we'll see how the data affects us going into Monday. And then for Meta, we're on a downtrend. We need to break past 490 to turn back upwards. We haven't done so yet. If we continue to fail here, we could be looking all the way down to about 481. Just a bit of a downtrend right now, so we'll see how things go. And with that being said, I just want to make it very, very clear that this is what the market's doing. All right, guys, I'm not going to talk about every single ticker today. I want to keep this nice, short, sweet, and simple. For Tesla's looking kind of weak approaching its deliveries, and we'll see what happens with deliveries. There is a risk of deliveries being kind of lackluster, looking at how demand is being impacted by current macroeconomic conditions in Europe, in the US, and also in China. China's a big factor. So we'll see how things go. But for now, just know the two main factors are coming out. Big data tomorrow with PCE and Jerome Powell's speech. That's going to cause some volatility, especially on Monday. And after Monday, we have our big deliveries report coming out. Deliveries are going to determine if this thing continues where it's at. So we'll be watching for that. We'll see how things go. I want to keep this video nice, short, sweet, and simple as we have a big weekend coming up. So take care, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next update on PCE and etc. Take care, do what you have to do, and peace out.